Welcome back, my friends. We got a game for you here on Ashes of Typhon between Piano and Darkhero. A lot of requests I've been getting for people to see a few more games featuring Darkhero. Can't say I blame you. I think he's a really interesting player to watch. Very much enjoy his gameplay because he's just really unorthodox. And I like that. Anyone who strays away from the meta is cool in my books. Now recently, and by recently I mean probably this patch and maybe one patch prior, there's been a completely new phenomenon with Tyranid play in 1v1. I've not seen it quite as much in team games, but definitely in 1v1. Everyone is going triple Hormagaunts into double Raveners. Or occasionally there's a little offshoot where instead of getting the first Ravener squad, they get a warrior and then go into Raveners. But it's bloody strong. It's really good. So this is going to be a pretty nice game to watch, seeing someone, another high level player in Piano, trying to combat it. Now, I must admit, I think that this is good play. Oh, brutal, brutal special. It's good play because he intentionally is fighting the Hormagaunts on a location where not all the models could attack him because they couldn't go there because there's a rock in the way. But yeah, as I was going to say, I like this build that Piano is doing. He's going for the triple gens instantly, which means he can get his Shuriken out as soon as possible, them tier 1.5 units. I don't think your basic tier 1 units as Eldar are particularly good against Hormagaunts. Dire Avengers are just too slow and too low in HP. The Hormagaunts, yeah, like look at that, they just have to run. The Hormagaunts that get anywhere near the Dire Avengers, they're going to mince them, and Dire Avengers are expensive. So it's not really what you want to be going for. A little bit of a different play here, going for the Immolator as opposed to getting a fast Shuriken. I can't say I particularly agree with that play, because I mean, is it worth it? You killed a Hormagaun. It's not really worth that 25 power. It would have been better to have that Shuriken out already and protect your gen farm. As it turns out, the Hormagaunts are going after the Requisition instead. Spawn mines here, as you can see, not really doing that much. Remember, you can't refund spawn mines. They are going to eventually die, and that's 100 requisition and 5 power. That's like losing a tactical marine model. And what have they achieved? They've achieved nothing, really. They screened the Dire Avengers out here, to be fair, so that the Hormagaunts could get the cap. Was it really worth the Hormagaunts getting the cap? Was that worth 100 rec and 5 power? Hell no, it wasn't. Plus extra upkeep as well, because they do cost pop. So I don't think the spawn mines paid off there. I go on that point for quite a while, because I know that a lot of people think that spawn mines are completely broken at the moment. And I don't think there's anything wrong with them in tier 1. Just that they're broken in tier 2 when you spawn them out. Capillary towers, really cheap, right in the face of the enemy. I digress. So the Banshees did a pretty good job here. It's wise to split your Banshees from your hero and your Dire Avenger, because Banshees can beat Hormagaunts one-on-one. So by sending the Banshees off on their own, you force them to dedicate 2 whole squads of Hormagaunts over to attack the Shees. Which just helps you on the other side with your Dire Avengers and your hero. The Dire Avengers are not very good. They pretty much lose one-on-one to everything, and they cost more upkeep than the Hormagaunts. But you start off with them, so tough shit. And that's why as the Eldar, I think you really need to rely on your tier 1.5. You definitely don't want to go double Banshees, because the Raveners counter them so easily. Raveners counter melee troops as well as setup teams. So you don't really want one setup team either. It's better to go either 0 setup teams or 2 setup teams. Because if you get 1, you're just allowing them to jump onto the setup team and destroy it in melee. Thanks to the damage over time from the Immolator now, yeah, he can get the wipe on the Hormagaunts. That damage over time addition to the Immolator is absolutely huge. Really, really helps them out. It's become extremely powerful. For that reason, it is actually going to get a cost increase at present, as things stand, next patch. That could change. But we see how the Banshees quite easily dealt with the Hormagaunts there one-on-one. They need to get out of here really soon, though, or they're going to die. Unless they get some really fortunate specials, they will lose this fight. This is going to be really close. Looks like they're just about winning it. Wow, that was really close. The thing that you've got to consider whenever you choose to fight an engagement against Hormagaunts, the Raveners might even finish them off now. Oh, it looks like they're just going to get away. That's really lucky by Piano. If he didn't proc as many specials there, he would die. And that's what I was going to say. The thing that you've really got to consider when you are fighting against Hormagaunts, their speed's 6.5. So if you both realise at about 40% HP, if you realise, shit, I'm going to lose the fight, the Banshees, or whatever melee unit you've got, is going to be slower than the Hormagaunts. So you probably are going to get wiped at that point by the Hormagaunts. Whereas, if he realises at 40%, shit, I'm going to lose the fight, he's going to escape without having the squad get wiped. So is it worth the risk? Generally, you don't want to engage in risky melee fights against Hormagaunts, because if it goes tits up, it's going to have a way bigger punch against your economy than his. So typically with the Tyranid matchup, you would actually go for a heavier tier 1 than this. Only getting 3 squads in tier 1 is very abnormal. Typically you'd see 5 at least, as well as hero upgrades, sometimes maybe 4. But the advantage here is that Piano has managed to get to tier 2 sooner. However, he has conceded a lot of the map control, and as you can see, the VPs are ticking down very promptly at the moment. But he hasn't lost his gen farm. And that's the crucial factor here. He might end up losing the Banshees. It seems that the aspect of fleetness jumping over cover actually saved him there. That's a good shout. Take note, a lot of people wonder, why do you get the aspect of fleetness? Well, instances like that, the cover jumping can be very, very useful. As well as, of course, it granting an additional 5% HP. This tooltip is actually outdated. These days it increases your HP by 20%, not 15%. So, because Piano somehow managed to prevent himself from getting gen bashed, which is very difficult to do with 3 units, this is typically why you would go for more units, because if you have 5 units, you can prevent yourself getting gen bashed, and you don't fear the Tyranid rushing tier 2 anyway, because they can't get a vehicle. At best, all they can get is a Tyrant Guard. So, he's managed to defend his farm, and he hasn't had any squad wipes yet. He has bled the Tyranid, so he's getting the fast Falcon out, which is going to be quite oppressive. Really, really clutch plays here with the Banshees again. Ended up bleeding quite a lot of Ravener models. This is so ballsy, because if that Banshee Exarch isn't getting those dope double sword specials, that Warlock would have been dead. He might actually get the Hive Tyrant now. I don't know if he's used Swift Movement. I think he already has. Yeah, that's going to be the kill on the Hive Tyrant. And these Banshees are in a pretty good spot. They probably want to get inside the Falcon. Yep. But nothing can actually contest that Falcon now. So this is the time for the counter-attack. And this is why Eldar are actually really good in this matchup. I think out of all the races to deal with the triple Hormagaunt double Raveners, I think Eldar and, well, definitely IG. You wouldn't typically go for this build against IG. IG, Eldar and Orcs are probably the best bet. Orcs get a special niche at dealing with it because they have access to the Pain Boy, which helps them deal with the triple Hormagaunts a lot better than other races can do. But the thing with the Eldar, their tier 2 is just so effective against it. Dropping down Warp Spiders is typically what you do because you counter Raveners by getting really high amounts of piercing range DPS. And the nice thing about Warp Spiders is they can teleport away from Hormagaunts. So normally Hormagaunts counter your ranged units with their speed, but the teleport from the Ravener allows him, the teleport from the Warp Spiders allows them to counter the Hormagaunts. Interestingly, we see an Autarch coming in. Not a terrible purchase due to the fact that we see the Venom Cannon, Hive Tyrant, and the fact that Piano chose to go for a Falcon first instead of instant Warp Spiders. Probably, I was going to say probably going to get the snipe on the Hive Tyrant here, but no, because of the Burrow Strike coming down here. It's actually going to be a wiped Banshee squad. Wow, that's kind of huge. Is it? They're not focusing on the Banshees. Wow, yeah, they go down. Too much range DPS from this Ravener squad. I'm not sure where... Oh, I was going to say... Wow, oh my god, so many dead models. What the hell is going on here? I was going to say, I'm not sure if he had the red for Distort Field. It turns out he didn't. I guess all the red went into the Autark purchase there. So he loses the Banshees, which is actually really annoying for him, because now there's a Tyrant Guard on the field. And the Banshees would have been the perfect thing to deal with that Tyrant Guard. As you can see, due to the super heavy infantry armor that the TG has, Dire Avengers can't really do anything to it. As mentioned before, Dire Avengers in this matchup are not very good. They're mostly just there for support. You know, you can get some cheeky grenades in if you combine it with suppression, but ultimately in the combat they're not going to be very effective. You're mostly using them to cap, and you've got to keep one around anyway to repair. So the Falcon's doing a good job against the Tyrant Guard, slowly chipping away at it. And there's no Venom Brood on the field yet, so that's definitely good for Piano. It helps him control the AV and helps him keep the Falcon around. He knows the only thing he needs to be concerned about is that Hive Tyrant with that Venom Cannon. Nice flanking maneuver from the Rippers here, trying to find the Shuriken. Not that the Shuriken matters too much, because it wouldn't really be dealing with the Tyrant Guard anyway. I would like to see either Dark Reapers or Warp Spiders. Because of the presence of the Tyrant Guard, Dark Reapers would be particularly good. Dark Reapers, of course, are a bit more vulnerable to the Hormagaunts, since they are less mobile than the Warp Spiders, but they have that plasma damage that's going to be, well, Inferno in Tier 2 and Plasma in Tier 3 that will absolutely melt the Tyrant Guard, and they have extra range as well to combat the Raveners. This is the tricky thing dealing with transport vehicles as Tyranids. You generally never should buy a walker against the Tyranids, because their Venom Cannons are so powerful in terms of DPS, and they're mobile because they don't have a setup team, a setup time, because they're not a setup team. But the disadvantage to it is their shorter range, so against really fast transport units, it's not great. It can be very hard to catch them, and he's just slowly bleeding models. He needs to be careful with the Warlock here. Does manage to get out. Tyrant Guard just a bit too slow to finish him off. But Darkhero is really putting on the pressure here. He needs to try and get the Gem Bash. That's going to be quite crucial at the moment. Piano, of course, we see going Tier 3. What's this over here? Oh, that's the Autark. Doing what she does best, really. Running around, using that awesome speed and mobility that she has to control the back lines. The thing is, whilst there is a lot of pressure being put on Darkhero, again, pretty lucky there. If he didn't proc that special attack on the Warlock, that would have been a dead Shuriken. In spite of the pressure that Darkhero is putting on Piano, he is not preventing him from keeping his gen farm nice and safe. And that's the problem. It won't be long until the Fire Prism can come out. Then again, I don't actually expect a Fire Prism to be the choice here. I think we'll probably see Seer Council. He's lost his Banshees. He already has the Autark to support them. There's no real reason why you wouldn't go for the Seer Council, I think. Fire Prisms are okay against Tyranids. It's a lot better if he's a Lictor or a Ravener Alpha, because they actually can get knocked over by the Fire Prism. Whereas this annoying fella, with all of his durability with that Warp Field, can't. And he can kill a Fire Prism very quickly if you can catch it. Plus you can get the charge as well to make him move in even quicker to ambush the Fire Prism. It really doesn't take long once you get on rear armor to kill a Fire Prism with a Venom Cannon. Warlock putting in so much work. These Raveners are going to be they're going to be in base for quite a lot of time. And of course, from getting Tier 3, now the Falcon gets an energy shield, which is going to be an absolute pain in the ass for Darkhero to deal with, quite frankly. He's coming in with a bit of a flank from the Tyrant Guard and the Hive Tyrant, but yeah, energy field. Falcon doesn't really give a shit. It will regen off that damage fairly quickly. And yes, we see the Seer Council coming out. We also see a Lictor. That's a bit of an interesting choice. I guess Darkhero feels like he needs a bit more pressure now, rather than waiting another 75 or so power to get a Carnifex. The Lictor can be helpful. It's probably going to make it quite easy to end up wiping the Shuriken. There is no detection on the field for Piano. He has to get Rangers to have any form of detection. I think Piano would be benefited quite well from getting another Shuriken, to be honest. Just to control these Raveners and Hormiguns a bit better. Should also get the Exarch and the Dire Avengers to just make them more durable overall. It's a very cheap upgrade. It doesn't cost you a lot of upkeep either. Seer Council now hitting the field, chasing down the Tyrant Guard. The Tyrant Guard has to very promptly charge out of there. The Seer Council will absolutely tear this thing to pieces. It doesn't stand a chance. As the observers are pointing out. Yeah, it's a bit interesting that he went for the Heart of Darkness, given that he has chosen to get the Seer Council. I think it's Enhance, the other ability that increases speed and damage. It used to be called the Heart of Darkness, it's only recently been changed. Oh, the Flesh Hook just was whiffed there because he didn't realise that he's got his shield up at the moment. Warlock in range stance with the Immolator, that's pretty cool actually, I like that. This is now a very, very challenging composition for Darkhero to deal with. Really powerful at range with the Shuriken, the Avengers, even the Seer Council and Warlock when they swap to range stance are really competent. It's just very difficult to push against, and meanwhile on the sidelines the Autarch is just capping constantly. And then jumping away, she's a pain. But yeah, I'm not sure what this Lictor is doing, to be quite honest. Really should not be engaging a Seer Council in melee. It's never going to go very well for it. Might even go down here. I think that's swift movement that has been used because the energy is really high. That's swift movement right there. Yep, that's a dead Lictor. And Darkhero was choosing to replace the Lictor. Wow. That's a bit of a strange decision. He's just seen how ineffective it was due to the presence of the Seer Council. You would really expect that he'd want to get the Carnifex out. I think you have to get a form back Carnifex. We even see Rangers now, which I guess Darkhero won't have seen at this point. Really should be cancelling that Lictor and going for a Carnifex, I think, if he wants to stay in this game. Ooh, I accidentally pressed space, and I'm showcasing my new script, which lets things go into 50% motion. Isn't that cool? Because it doesn't remove the UI like Indrids. But these Raveners are just getting wrecked. The Seer Council are just beastly. So good. Really powerful special attacks that they have. Really tanky, especially because they have the damage resistance aura to ranged, and then they give that to all your nearby units as well. So they're the perfect counters to both Raveners and Hormiguns. Look at the Lictor, man. He only just got in the combat and he's on like a fifth of his HP. This is absolute carnage. The energy shield just makes the Falcon practically invincible. I mean, you need another source of AV. That's all that can be said here. You can't expect to kill a Falcon with a shield using only a Venom Cannon and Hive Tyrant. Definitely needs a form back Carnifex here. There's no AV on the field bar the Falcon. That would at the very least force the Shuriken to go for a Bright Lance. Be in a much better spot then. Unfortunately, the Autarch had just landed and got that knockback immunity for jumping when the Flesh Hook was used and so wasn't pulled in. But yeah, Piano's economy at this point is just completely skyrocketing. There is nothing... I don't know how he could actually lose the game at this point. He can get an Avatar soon enough, which would be a nice choice. I think an Avatar and an additional Shuriken would be optimal. The Shurikens at this point are just handy for placing around your VPs to stop them being decapped by cheeky Hormiguns in the background. Or just to place them in the back lines of your main firing force, so that when the Raveners do jump in, or things like the Lictors, they're going to get suppressed and can't advance any further. I'm not entirely sure what these Hormiguns are doing, why they weren't just fighting the Dire Avengers. But yeah, that's the thing. He won't kill the Falcon with just a Hive Tyrant. He really needs the Venom Brood as well. The Falcon's too quick. You can't rely on the Tyrant Guard or the Lictor to ever catch it. Especially now there's Rangers on the field as well to detect that Lictor. It's going to be very, very bad for Dark. It's definitely possible to snipe a Fire Prism if they've never noticed that you got a Lictor. But this isn't the Fire Prism, this is the Falcon, and as the observers have mentioned already, well, they said it was better than a Fire Prism. It depends on the matchup. But the Falcon is certainly more durable than a Fire Prism, that's for sure. And we see the Avatar on the way. I mean, that's going to be pretty much that for this game, I think. To be honest, Darkhero has done a really good job keeping up on the VP game. I suppose it is possible for him to somehow rat it out, but you're fighting against Eldar. You have potential for a lot of webway gates now. Let's look at the red. Nearly 500 red at this point for Piano. Quite interesting that he chose to retreat there and not send the Seer Council into melee. There wasn't anything that was that fearsome. Wow! Once again, the Flesh Hook fails because the Tyrant Guard knocked back the bloody Autarch just before he could Flesh Hook. That must be so infuriating. I think that's 5 Flesh Hooks in a row now that have failed. But there's now an Avatar on the field. That is depressing. Very depressing. Good awareness from Piano. Instantly retreats his Dire Avengers, seeing the Hormagaunts nearby after he finishes his cap. And the pressure just is on. The pressure is on. You can see the Falcon doesn't even fear the Hive Tyrant getting so close to it because he knows he's got the durability. It doesn't matter. The Seer Council are nearby to tie the Hive Tyrant up. He won't last for long with them hitting him. Finally, we see a Carnifex on the way. If anything can bring Darkhero back in this game, it is a Carnifex. He's needed this for quite some time. I'm unsure what type of Carnifex he's going to go for. The Formback would have been the choice before, but now there's an Avatar on the field as well. Perhaps a Venom Cannon is worth it. We shall have to see. The Warlock truly has been a beast this game. Level 7 already. Getting lots of kills both in melee and ranged. That damage over time with the Immolator has proved extremely effective. Good use of the Champion's Robe as well. You don't typically see the Champion's Robe with the Immolator because normally the Immolator is seen as a more spellcasting sort of build. But now that the Immolator does such significant range DPS, it's definitely very viable. Just give him the Champion's Robe, make him extra tanky, and stick him in range stance. It can be quite strong. So the Avatar is leading the charge on the front lines, but they see the Carnifex at last. And the Carnifex was rather unfazed by that Wailing Doom. Hormagaunts are falling on the peripheries, trying to tie up the Shuriken. It looks like the Tyrant Guard's about to go down as well, but of course it can just charge out of there. The Avatar has managed to fall to about half HP at this point. But the thing is, Piano's probably quite happy with this whole fight. Actually dropping an Eldritch on the Carnifex at point blank. That was a bit of an interesting decision. Oh, it actually hit it! Wow! Right on the edge of the Eldritch, but it has hit it, as you can see with the stunned blue head of the Carnifex. I'm not exactly sure why that graphical bug occurs. Just as Piano has upgraded to the Bright Lance, that's probably going to be the end of the Carnifex. Actually kills the Carnifex with the Wailing Doom, and the Tyrant Guard can do absolutely nothing. Gets minced by the combination of the Falcon and the Seer Council. Darkhero's army has absolutely fallen to pieces. It is a triple cap against him, and that is going to be his defeat. The Lictors have proved rather ineffective all around, failing approximately 7 Flesh Hooks in this game. I think he might have succeeded at 0. The Hive Tyrant with a Venom Cannon just insufficient against a good player to deal with the Avatar. You need more AV, not the Avatar, the Falcon. I'm getting very excited. I like seeing this. We're even seeing a Kane's Wrath just for the lulz. Not for the lulz, there was a call-in, which... what is going on? We didn't even see... we didn't even see a graphical effect for that call-in. Well, that is definitely carnage. That is how you play Eldar, my friends. That is how you play Eldar. Hey! Flesh Hook worked right at the end of the game. So if anyone was struggling with the triple Hormagaunts double Ravener build and they needed advice on how to handle it, here you go. Perfect showcase. Now, it must be said, Darkhero kind of failed in that he lost one of his Hormagaunts fairly early on. And Piano only went for 3 units in Tier 1. Darkhero went for 6. He had the Spore Mines, triple Hormagaunts, and the double Raveners. I would say if you're going for such a heavy Tyranid Tier 1 and your opponent is only getting 3 units, you have kind of failed if you don't manage to gem bash them. So you guys can try it out. This Tier 2 fast tech into the Falcon. When I played this matchup against Best Noob, it was quite on a whim, so you know I wasn't playing at my best, but it was a lot closer in Tier 1. The risk of getting gem bashed was very high, and I found that I really had to go for at least a 1-1-1 build. Generally, the best option I found was to go for your starting Dire Avenger, get Banshees, because Banshees are still good for the map control because they beat things one-on-one and they can beat the enemy heroes one-on-one. Rush your Shuriken and then get another Shuriken unless he is the Lictor Alpha, in which case you get Rush your Shuriken, then go Rangers and then get another Shuriken. So typically you are looking at double Shurikens plus Rangers, so a 5 unit Tier 1. If you can get away with only going for 3 units, do it. But don't expect that to always be the case. This is a very, very high pressure Tyranid build. You are likely to lose Tier 1 if you only spend the same as them, for sure. And then the other thing to note is, if you do go for a heavier Tier 1 yourself, say you go for something like the starting Dire Avenger, Banshee, Shuriken, Ranger, Shuriken, you're not going to be able to field a Falcon in time come Tier 2. But the thing is, your Tier 1 units are going to end up scaling better than his, because Gaunts don't scale that great, and Raveners don't scale at all if they're outside of Synapse, and even if they're inside of the ranged Synapse, that means there's a Venom Brood nearby who are pretty vulnerable, who if you pop a model on, is going to send all those Ravs flying and inflict 10% of their max HP in damage to every single model. Your Banshees in Tier 2, your Shurikens, the whole collective is going to be a lot stronger. Now, as I say, you're not going to get a Falcon because they're going to hit Tier 2 at the same time as you. They're going to get the Venom Brood. They're going to have AV upgrades on their heroes as well. So instead, you're going to go for Warp Spiders. And then afterwards, once you've got this really solid composition with Rangers, Dire Avengers upgraded, Banshees, double Shurikens, and hero upgrades and Warp Spiders, then you can choose to go for the, probably at this point, Wraith Lord, because you're going to have such dominance. You're going to be able to snipe down the AV units really easily using your hero, your Banshees, and your Warp Spider squad, all of which are very good at killing specific targets. Food for thought, guys. Food for thought. I hope you enjoyed the game. That'll be all from Torpid today, and thus, Torpid out.